I'll show you the secret reason why most people never get hooked onto anime. And if one of these was your first anime, no wonder you hated it. The secret reason you stopped watching anime is... I've watched a ton of anime and I'll do my best to make sure that you actually enjoy your first anime. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what shows to watch and what to... The first thing to understand is that anime can be very different from shows. Some strengths of anime is that it can have deep character development over a lot of episodes, and it can have a wide variety of genres and themes depending on what you pick. You can also explore very mature themes that live action seems to avoid quite a bit. And because it's animated, it doesn't require good budgeting and a lot of money to be able to spend and make something that looks really good and very aesthetic, as you can animate everything, you don't have to use a real life budget. And the second thing is to manage expectations and don't look for a reason to click off and think, would you do this for a live action show? The pacing in anime can be very slow if it's a lot of episodes and it takes a lot of time to actually get to the good part. And sometimes when looking for a starter anime, you need to make sure it starts fast and make sure, because when you're watching for the first time, you don't have as much patience as you would with a show or an actor that you know is good. So for the first one, try to pick a high-paced anime that you know will get to a good plot and get to the action pretty soon. The secret reason you stop watching anime is because the person recommending didn't understand their audience. The best way to pick your first anime is to start with something that you already like from a normal show and think what was that you liked and try to find an anime with a similar vibe. And here I'm going to try to pick a few things from a certain amount of shows and try to find a correlation to an anime, and if you think you like them vibe or energy, then I think it'd be good for you. The first one I'd like to recommend is for Breaking Bad fans, and if you like that, try Death Note. This story follows Light Yagami, who's an A student who has basically everything in life until a Death Note falls into his hands. The Death Note allows him to kill anyone with just their face and name, and then he takes on this Death Note to try to kill all the criminals in the world. And then they play this cat and mouse game with the best detective in the world. Obviously Light's trying to kill L, who's the detective, and trying to make sure that he gets killed so he can fulfill his justice. And L's trying to kill this criminal who's killing everyone else and is becoming a greater evil. And if you're a fan of Rocky, I'd recommend you try out the anime Hajime no Ippo. It has the same realistic feel, and it's about a kid who gets bullied and wants to get better and defend himself from bullies, and tries to improve every day. He ends up going to this boxing club or boxing gym, and he tries to up his ranks in the rest of the country and try to become better. And as he grows, you grow with him. And it's got a very realistic underdog feel that Rocky has. Just as a general side note, I know that I'm explaining this a bit worse, but that's because I'm not trying to give everything away, so that when you watch it, you kind of aren't fully clued into the whole plot, and you can kind of still have some of the main plot points be still be a surprise to you. The next one I'd recommend is for people who love Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and if you like that, try Spy X Family, because it's fun, dynamic, and has a lot of humor in it. Spy X Family is about a detective who has a mission to try to create a new family and get into this private school. And then he ends up having to create a whole new family, and then the wife is an assassin, the husband's a spy, and the daughter they select is actually a telepath. And the story follows their family. The secret is that none of them know each other's identity, so they think they're a normal family. If these animes seem like kind of what you want, but not exactly, I have a few more that are similar. These ones are similar to Death Note. There's Code Geass, which is one of my favorites, and it's just a bit older in terms of graphics, but I think it's an amazing anime, and after the first episode you'll be hooked. And then the second one that's closer to Death Note is Attack on Titan, which is very popular for being very realistic, very real themes, and very action based in terms of what it's doing. And it's about a surrounded wall around their society, and then there's titans outside that they have to fight to try to stay alive. And then there's Vinland Saga, which has more of a older feel, and it's in the Viking era, and it's got no abilities in terms of crazy animations or crazy powers. This one's a bit slower, but it's amazing, and after the fourth episode, you should be able to get into it pretty well. If you like Spy X Family or the kind of energy I was giving you, there's this one called Devil as a Part-Timer, which is basically about a devil that's a king of his old universe that gets pushed to a new dimension, and he basically works at McDonald's as a part-timer, and he has to live a normal life with his assistant, and he has no powers, so he's basically put into life as a McDonald's employee, and he's just working and having a good time. Another one is The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, which is basically someone who has a bunch of powers, but he just wants to be left alone, and he doesn't use his powers in terms of action or anything, and purely comedic effects. The next one is Kaguya-sama Love is War, which is basically about in Japan there's these things called class presidents, and there's a class president and vice president in like the student council, and there's basically the two main people are kind of more of a romance where it's romance but in more of a funny sense, where they romantically like each other, but then everything is turned into a comedy where they're like fighting for the other one to confess first, and it's very comedic the way they do romance. And if you liked Hajime no Ippo, there's also Haikyuu, which is known for sports in terms of volleyball, if you like more of the sports aspect, or Kuroko no Basket, which does basketball. There's Full Metal Alchemist, which is older and slower paced, but it's got very like realistic and a few darker themes, but it's very real and it's got a very good character development and the feel is very good. Full Metal Alchemist is very good. Same with Hunter x Hunter. It's known as being one of the best anime ever. Pacing is like it's older, but it's very good, and even people who've watched like a lot of stuff still say it's like one of the best. Hajime no Ippo also goes well with Vinland Saga because of the energy it gives, and I talked about it earlier, so I'm gonna keep going. And then Black Clover, which isn't one I'd watch right after Hajime no Ippo, but I'd watch it a bit after I've watched a few of them because it's quite long, but it's very good. It's about a boy who's put into a magic world where magic is everything, and he doesn't have magic, and he just has to live without him being able to do magic and try to become the like king of the world, or like their president. If you like JJK, it's kind of a newer anime, so I decided to go with Demon Slayer because it's very popular and it's got very good animation. Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the best starting anime because it's kind of one of one and there aren't that many similar anime compared to it because what it does is so unique and so amazing. If you want one last bit of recommendations, I would recommend that the romance, not just the comedy romance I said earlier, but romance is pretty good in anime. And if I were to get you started on one, I would get you started on I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which is an anime movie about romance, which is quite sad, but if you like that, it is definitely there, but I remind you, it is very sad. And then if you liked that, I'd want to do Your Lie in April, which isn't like it's very good. It's more like music and romance. And then Toradora, which is like a classic. Before we jump into anime, I'd like to say just one truth. Anime isn't just action or a bunch of fan service or a bunch of over-the-top fights, and you click this video because you probably didn't assume it's so. Because there is a bunch of weird anime, and you avoid those. No, I'm kidding. But there are a lot of things in anime that aren't perfect, but if you look for the right anime and you look at the right stuff, and there's a huge variety of different types of anime, and you'd kind of be letting yourself down by just judging it based off of a small section of it. Imagine you just watched anime and you looked at shows and only their worst moments, and you judged it based off of that. You'd miss out on so many good shows that are amazing to watch. And not every anime will grab you, even if it's just popular. So don't just try something that's very popular and say, oh, I didn't like this one, so I can dismiss the whole genre. Because anime is very varied and there's a lot of different stuff you can do to find what's good for you. Me personally, I started with Naruto, which is very long, and one thing I like about anime is that there's a large variety of different types of lengths of anime. Like you can find a lot, and I mean a lot, of anime that are 12 or 24 episodes and that are just very short, or you can go out and watch animes that are very long. Whether that's One Piece, which is known for being very long, over 1,000 episodes, whether it's Naruto, which is 720 episodes, whether that's Bleach being 300, I think almost 400 episodes now, and still rising because of the new content that's coming out. And it's undeniable that anime is becoming very big, not just in Japan, but all over the world, with the new Demon Slayer movie reaching new heights and outscaling any of the new recent Marvel movies. And I think it would be really missing out if you didn't try anime and you didn't give it a shot. And hopefully this video went on your recommended or was recommended to you by a friend, and it's called you to start watching anime and start enjoying it and seeing what all the hype's about. And trust me, it's worth it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this, please drop down a comment on what anime you're starting, or if you've already watched it, how it went. And if you want anything more on what anime to watch or anything like that. I've made another video on Jujutsu Kaisen and the relationship between Geto and Gojo, and if you've watched JJK as your first anime, that would be an amazing video to check out after this. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.